Hello, everyone. I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back. Many of you are still here, I think, from the pre-show, but good to have you. Let me get rid of this banner back in a moment because we don't need that anymore and don't even need the ticker down there. There we go. All right, so welcome to the Star Wars Scoundrels book study. Tonight, chapters 17 through 19. And let me bring in, with me as always, is my trusty PA, Al Baca. Say hi, Al Baca.
Oh,
You know, when we get to Dune, I am so gonna miss your Wookiee speak.
oh, oh, oh,
Yeah, that's okay. You can stop now, though. I don't miss it that much.
oh.
I do want to thank again Stephen Cruz for that awesome music. I think he posted it on Facebook or something the other day. He's like, this is something old I was playing with when it was. He said he was going through a new wave phase, and I love like '80s new wave music. So I was saying how that's so awesome. He said, feel free to use it if you need some music or whatever. And I said, definitely send that to me. So I need to put that. I need to credit him in the description. I'll fix that later. But thank you very much, Stephen Cruz, for that awesome music. Stephen Cruz is the man.
That he is.
I was nervous. I was like, is he going to do the Wookiee thing again?
I paused for effect to make you nervous.
So how have you been, Al?
I've been good. Something
Big day today, right?
Very good happened today. Yes. Mommy's home.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So happy to hear that. I don't know if she's within ear range, but welcome home, Mrs. Severson. Great to have you there.
Michael says, "Welcome home, Mom." Michael says, "Welcome home." Thank you. She's
that's cool. So all going well. I'm sure she's thrilled to be back with you and back home.
She has her baby again.
Yeah. That's good. That is good. Cool. So yeah, I brought you in a few minutes early. I figured we could just vamp a little bit. Actually, it's 10:01 now though, so whatever. That's cool. So yeah, so you're feeling pretty good, I'm sure.
It's a good it's a good thing. We're getting some stuff straight. We're gonna be looking at a living community. We're going to apply for that. No, I think that'll be the best circumstance for us. Not sure how long it'll take. Sometimes you got to wait a little while, but it's a nice little like senior / disabled people's community.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
So welcome to the chat again. I did the welcome for everybody who came in the first time because that was when I was doing the live stream. But I do see folks still here with us. Mr. Matchstick, Melissa Harris, Netter's still with us, and yes, I agree with Netter. Hit that thumbs up, folks. Definitely great to have some people hanging out with us. And again, all are welcome, even those who've read. I see Matchstick said he just finished his reading before jumping in, so that's great. But a lot of people like to join this who haven't necessarily read, and they just like to hear us talk about it. So that's fine too. You're all welcome. So what do you think of the of these 3 chapters, Al, just in general?
It's getting there, man.
Getting there. This is the real deal here.
Twists and turns and cool things are happening.
Yeah. I like the fact that do you mind turning your headphone volume down just a touch? I don't know if it's that or not, but I'm hearing a slight little echo. If that doesn't work, it might be something on my end. But
okay, there you go.
Yeah, much better. Don't hear it anymore. Thank you, sir. All right, so we talked about, I think it was a couple of sessions ago, these festivals that they're doing, the festivals of the 4 honorings, and each one was an element. So they started out with the honoring of moving earth, then it was the honoring of moving wind, I think. Then came moving water. Now moving fire is the last one here. And I talked about a little bit how the elements, which festival they went to, correlated with which stage of their plans they were putting into motion. So the festival of moving earth, for example, that was when they were just laying the foundations of their plan. Earth foundation, that kind of thing made sense. The festival of moving wind, I think, was when they were gathering intel, and you're doing a little bit more of the intelligence work. Festival of moving water was having to adapt. That was when things were changing and things were, complications would arise, water shifting, moving water, the emotional elements, so to speak. But now we're in element of fire, and fire is all action. Fire is the Spitfire. Fire is, the fiery personality. Fire is when we really see them acting on the fly. So complications still arise here, and they're still having to take care of new things that show up. But we do see it's very much in line with that element of fire, I think. So I kind of like how he did that. It's not a huge connection. You can't really read it into every little thing, but I think it's there, and it's just sort of a general background, which is cool. So the chapter 17, as it starts out, we are here at I like this little description we start out with about the sky and how the clouds had cleared, and by all indications, we'd have a nice starry background for the Festival of Four Honorings to close on and whatnot, and that's sort of a false setup in a way, because it's like, oh, all the clouds are gone, everything's clear, everything moves as planned. But you also got the clouds in terms of the stars. We're going back to the stars. It sets up a false sense of security, I think, which is interesting. So we've got Han on his way to drop off this blackmail chip, because remember, Han had met with Villagor last. Villagor was wanting to meet with Quirv, quote unquote, this Lando's character that he was playing, Quirv's boss. Well, Han showed up as another intermediary, perhaps over Lando, but still not the big boss. And he agreed to provide a chip of blackmail info or something like that. So he's going to drop this off. Now, we did see a little scene in the last chapter where Villagor was contemplating maybe just going to the Empire himself. And he had even contacted the Empire contacts on Wokar there. And Deja and Deshul had that little conversation about it. Deja told Inger about it, but Inger didn't tell the team. That's pretty telling here. So that might have tipped him off that Villagor wasn't exactly going to go along with this. So instead, when Han gets there, they take him by gunpoint inside. He's face to face with Quasati. He's, the whole thing. They threaten. I like the way he plays this, though, because again, if you look at Han's bluffing, it's very different than Lando's bluffing. Lando is very much the smooth talker, trying to be like, no threat. I'm just here, and this is my boss's, offer, opportunity. When Han comes up, Han's trying to assert a little bit more authority, and I think that comes from Lando being the smoother of the con men, but Han's got his own level of this that he's quite good at, I think.
Yeah, he keeps us cool.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the thing, the guy's threatening him and all his friends with death, but he's still, hey, what's good,
Yeah, and he knows when to tweak it up and when to tweak it down. So, for example, Quasati says, "Here's the human who, in arrogance and pride, thinks he can subvert a Black Sun official from his sworn loyalties." And Han looks at Villagor. The other's expression was steady enough, but there was sweat on his forehead. "I'm just an employee, Master Quasati," Han said, turning back to Faline. "I'm not allowed to have arrogance and pride. I just deliver messages." So on the one hand, pretending to that. But then on the other hand, he plays him. He says, "I know you want something. So what is it? And what makes you think I want something?" So the fact that you're not shooting, obviously. So they want the cryodex. He contacts Lando or Quirv, so they know. So now there's a complication, and now we're having to think on the fly. It's not a matter of going back to the drawing board. It's a matter of, this is it. This is the action. The plans are in motion. Now, how do we change and alter this? So they're going to have to try and get Bink in to maybe try to steal Azil's cryodex, and they've got a plan in motion. We don't know all of it, and I like the way Zahn does this. He gives us just a little bit of what they're going to do, but we get to kind of find out other aspects as we go through, and that's really key, I think, to keeping the reader going through this. Don't you think?
And one thing one thing about Han really thought he had an easy part of the deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, we go there, we give him this chip, and I'm back sitting in my easy chair by the window waiting for the money to come in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course, it's Han Solo, so of course that's not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Best laid plans of Corellians often go awry.
And he wasn't even happy about that too, right? I mean, he would have preferred to have been in the mix a bit more.
Yeah, he's everybody's kind of got their like big role, and he's basically just dropping off a data card.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I think there's part of me that almost thinks he's happy to kind of like be in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, he knows he's in danger, but he's in his element. Like, he's a scoundrel, he's a smuggler. He's used to kind of having to think on his feet and do his own thing there.
He likes the adrenaline rush.
Exactly. And let me see here where I was going. So he calls him first, and I like this little exchange that the team has back there. They know they need to save Han. Now, Ainger looks guilty. They kind of drag it out of him. What happened? And where is the part here? Han, there's one moment where they assert this, and Rochelle's the one to do it. Han's worth more than all the files in the galaxy, Rochelle called after her. She sent a quick glare at Ainger, and all the credits, too. This sort of affirmation here at this point that even though they are all scoundrels, even though they're all into this for the credits and whatnot, they do have some loyalties to each other. Some of them have met each other for the first time here, but those who knew each other for a while ago do have real loyalties that you would see in just actual straight up heroes, not necessarily rogues like this. So Rochelle, obviously, Han knew her from before. There was a little bit of flirtation going on, not overly done, but it was there.
Yeah,
and,
there definitely does lead that there was something, or it's almost a little bit more than respect.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's much more personal to her.
I think in some ways it's kind of we see this develop far more in the Thrawn trilogy with Card and how he, really did see his people as family. But there was also, when we saw the smugglers, when they would meet together and stuff, there is a sense of loyalty to those in your profession, for the smugglers. Now, these are people from all types of specific professions, but they're all there to do this heist. So there's a certain loyalty to, to the team, even among the newbies, which I like, So, so after it was a nice cutoff too. Playing with time here, I think, is cool because at the end of this scene, they're trying to figure out how they're going to do this, how they're going to get Han out. And Dozer flashed a glance at Winter's back, squared his shoulders. Let's find a workable plan first, he said. As far as gear goes, I've got some vehicle remotes, some universal door decrypt openers. Excuse me, Winter said, still standing at the window. Any of you know if Han smokes? Not that I know of, Lando said, frowning. Chewie? Chewbacca rumbled a negative. Maybe a long time ago, but not lately, Lando said. Why? Because I think, Winter said thoughtfully, he may have just sent us a message. Now, when we jump back to Han, we actually go back in time a little bit and see how he arranged this little smoke message, which I really think is cool. Did you like how that happened?
Yeah, because it's almost like, oh, you're gonna leave me some good, some good cigarettos. I'm gonna use them.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the way he did it too. It's not that he thought that he would get a cigar or cigarro, whatever they're called, from the person. So the two of the henchmen have been designated to carry him off and lock him in a closet for the time being. And he smells smoke on one of them, so he tries to get one of them to give him a cigar or whatever, and the man doesn't. The man just lights up in front of him and keeps blowing smoke in his face as though he were to tease him. And of course, Han doesn't smoke, so every second he's trying to not to gag, but he's doing this because that trail of smoke will go up through the skylight because it's an open top there. And then he's hoping that maybe Winter, he knows they're watching, like a hawk. They've got, surveillance on the building. So he's hoping they'll see that and it might work,
Mm-hmm.
So I like that little aspect there. Before that though, he also makes sure to have given this data card to Villagor. What did you make of that, Al? The fact that before he lets them take him, he finds a way to pull that card from his pocket and throw it to Villagor before he lets them take him away. Did you have any thoughts as to why he did that? I mean, he doesn't tell us yet, but what do you think about that?
There's something important on that card. So he wanted to make sure Villagor got it.
Yeah, I think so. And I also, go ahead.
So I'm hoping it's kind of like a gotcha message, but I don't know. We'll see.
I like the fact too that it implicates, or it at least adds another. At the very, very least, it's another little dig at Villagor's possible implications in this, because Villagor, of course, is terrified that Kwisatz will think he was going to go along with this. So I like this, giving his left shoulder a little hunch as a distraction. Han dipped his right hand into his side pocket, got a grip on the data card there. In a single smooth motion, he drew it out and flipped it toward Villagor. He had just enough time to see Villagor reflexively reach up and catch it before the two bodyguards yanked him backward and slammed him down on the floor. So Villagor reflexively, just, you throw something at somebody, they're going to reach up and catch it, but just the act of catching it makes him look a little guilty. And Villagor knows that, I think, because What is it? Cruzati asked. The details of his offer, Han said. Not that it matters now, I suppose. I never said I was going to join you, Villajor insisted, tossing the card back at Han as if he were trying to get rid of a baby Gundark. I love that, so just that little bit of extra pressure on Villajor.
Little hot potato.
Exactly. Just trying to stir up that pot as much as possible, I think was a good idea. Also, the way Han is very observant. I mean, we haven't seen him in action yet in this book other than being the leader. And he's been a great leader. He's really, drawn people together and done a good job of directing them. But here we have he planned on giving the smoke signal when he comes back. As he enters the closet, he spies where the light switch is. So he's really observant. He's really taking all this in.
Well, being such a good pilot, he's got to be observant. He's going to know where certain switches are. He needs to know, like, when he's flying through an asteroid field or something, which will come into play later in his life. Yeah. So he's going to be very observant and have good reflexes as well. Mm-hmm. So
that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's probably just something that's almost, I'm not going to say innate because it's learned, but it's something that he's kind of a skill that probably doesn't even know he has. Yeah. But it's just something that's evolved in him.
That's a really good point. I didn't think about it in terms of where he would pick this up as being a pilot. You're right, though. Mm-hmm. And a smuggler, too. He's got to have that eye for detail for flying under the radar and whatnot.
Yeah, you've got to always be on your guard. And, with like someone like Villajor, his guard, he's just absolute paranoid, whereas Han has that smooth, rakish, he keeps it inside. He doesn't like start getting all antsy about it.
Yeah.
He just keeps an eye out.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, I like the way you said that. So he does also immediately start to work on a plan of escape. And the ceiling is ceramic, so that's where he's going to go through it first. He's able. Does he tap through the ceiling at this point? I don't think so quite yet, but he's got a plan. He's got a couple different possibilities for his plan too, because sometimes he kind of runs into a roadblock with a couple of ways he tries to do this. But we leave him there in the room. Troy says Villajor sounds like a He-Man character. Village or the mighty man from the village. That's right. Yeah, that's one of the type of names that they would do for their characters. Now I say Villajor because that's what the audiobook, what's his name, says in the audiobook version. But in the book, as I read today, it is CH. So you could say Villajor as well. And perhaps that's what he's saying too. It just sounds like the G. So I don't know. I just tend to say that. But Villajor. I guess he probably is saying a CH. Maybe I'm just fudging that a bit. But how do you hear it pronounced, Al?
I actually didn't even
think about it.
I just thought he was saying Villajor. I really wasn't paying attention to the enunciation of the consonants.
Yeah. No worries.
Or what do they call those little sound parts of the phonics or whatever.
Syllables? Yeah.
Syllables. Yeah.
So we do get this next little section set off in the chapter, which is jumping over to Deja. And this just basically adds some tension because Deja hasn't heard from Inger and his team for a while. He doesn't know that things went wrong or whatnot. And Deja says that he would give Inger that first hour to make his move, he decided. After that, if there was still nothing happening, he would go find Villajor and try to pick up the threads of his original penetration plan. So adding a little bit of attention, there's another possible complication in the mix if things don't go a certain way. We'll see that go another way in the next chapter. But I like the fact that we have this little moment with Han. He's done all he could to try and send signals and whatnot. He's doing what he can to try and escape. But there's this, the rest of Villajor's people out and about. Once the followings were gone, Han basically should have free run of the mansion, assuming Lando did indeed bring the cryodecks. And now you have this memory of what Lando said to him once. Get this through your head, Solo. Lando's angry words whispered through his memory. We've been friends in the past, so I'm going to do what you so richly deserve, not do what you so richly deserve and blow your head off, but don't ever come near me again. Lando had told him earlier that he'd cooled down since that rant, that he grudgingly realized Han hadn't stiffed him on purpose. Given their long history together, Han had accepted the ceasefire as genuine. But what if it wasn't? There's a little bit of niggling doubt, I like that. I like that, but he shakes it off eventually. Han took a deep breath. No, Lando wouldn't do that to him. Not that way. Definitely not with Chewie breathing down his neck, which is a great point. So
Chewie would be ripping off limbs left and right. Literally.
Exactly. So, but I like that, just a human moment there. Let's see. So Lando's got this plan in motion. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, but talking about with Chewie being with Lando kind of as a stand-in for Han, and I mentioned earlier, it's like it's got to be a big relief to someone like Han that he knows he has someone so loyal that has his back, and even like I said, he knows if Lando crossed him, Chewie was going to take care of it one way or another.
Yeah.
And it could get messy. But
yeah. Earlier, when Inger was asking Lando about what happened between the two, I remember Lando was even a little nervous saying some of the things in front of Chewie. He was watching him for a reaction and stuff. Yeah. So as the team is about to head out, Lando's got the fake cryodecks they made and whatnot. I like this little moment at the end. So they're about to head out. As he joined them, Lando felt a frown crease his forehead. It had been hard to tell through all the rest of the murmurings, but he could have sworn Winter had just said, "Winter?" he asked. "Yes," she said, looking at him. Lando felt his lip twitch. "Nothing," he said, and kept walking. Because really, no one said, "May the Force be with us," anymore. No one but rebels and religious nuts. And if Winter was one of either group, he really didn't want to know about it. I love that little way to close it out. Because, of course, Winter is a rebel. So, Chapter 18, now the team's getting in place. I like a little bit of Dozer's interiority we get again. Him worried about perceptions, how people are looking at him and whatnot. I like that Winter asks him, "You ready for this?" Dozer clenched his teeth. No, he criffing well wasn't ready for this. And if Winter had any brains, she wouldn't be ready either, because that was a Falleen in there, a Falleen, and he talks about he'd always prided himself on being in control, always, even when he was working for someone else, there were still important bits of freedom that he possessed and would never give up. He was the one who chose whether to obey questionable or dangerous orders and so forth, but the Falleen's pheromones Azil's pheromones had duped him through that. But he looks at Winter, and I like this. There's no fear in her face, nothing but calmness and determination. Dozer felt his lip twist. She was barely half his age, certainly no more than half his size, but even she should be smart enough to be concerned about the odds of going up against a Black Sun official and his bodyguards. Maybe she was nervous. Maybe she just wasn't showing it. Or maybe she just didn't care. Maybe all she cared about was getting the job done. And Dozer would be damned if he let half-baked girl show him up. So suddenly he becomes the stoic, and I'm ready now, stuff like that. So I just like that. Again, we've been developing each team member's interior arc in different ways, and he felt like a fish out of water at first. He did have the scary run-in with the Falleen, and that's caused him to doubt himself here, but I like the fact that it's appearance that kind of shakes him out of it and keeps him going. So that was an interesting moment there. Let's see. So Villagor, Orlando is supposed to meet Villagor's people there to give them the cryodecks, but he pulls a fast one instead and leaves it somewhere, which is smart because they would have just taken him in just as they did Han, duh. So he pulls that Villagor. I like the fact that Villagor says something like, "I thought we were supposed to meet face to face like civilized gentlemen." Civilized, right? You just kidnap somebody, And the little power play there, because Villagor says, of course, if there happens to be an explosion when we open, I promise you that Han's only release will come from a very slow death. There won't be any explosions, Lando promised, wincing. Chewie's plan for getting Han out had better work. And my boss told me to tell you in turn that if any of his people are harmed, you'll be the one that dies very slowly, so that power play. But I like the way that there's little slips like that telling us different aspects of the plan are coming, and we are going to be revealed. That we'll learn them. They'll be revealed, so that Chewie's plan for getting Han out better work. So Chewie's got something here that may be tied to an explosion, maybe not. You have to kind of go through the story to see it unfold, and that's something that you can do when you're an omniscient narrator like this, third-person narration that's jumping from different people's perceptions to perceptions. You can skip time, and you don't have to go back and fill in all the gaps that these people talked about once you're back with them. You can just keep going right away. So that adds to the tension of the heist. You don't, as a reader, you don't want to know all the little tricks they have up their sleeve, because it's kind of fun when they reveal something new. At least I think so, don't you? Let's see. Deja. Now we have Deja's little complication because he had pulled up his stunt with the glitter stem at first before he found Inger and his team going in and doing things, and he kind of decided to sit back and let them see what they could do. But he's recognized in the crowd. That contact he had recognizes him, and he's got some thugs on him. Unfortunately, the lack of awareness. So he talks about this. Let's see, enjoying it a lot. I've been busy, Deja said, as when they asked him where he's been around, looking casually over his shoulder. If he could twist himself out of Crovendif's line of fire, he would be able to take him down quietly enough that the crowd flowing around them wouldn't even notice. Unfortunately, that lack of awareness probably wouldn't extend to the two Marblewood security men watching him a few meters away. Deja's a really interesting character, and we're going to talk about. I'll save some of this for the next development we get with Deja here in the next chapter, or maybe it's later in this one, I think. But he's juxtaposed with Quasati, I think, quite well in terms of an Apollonian versus Dionysian. But the aspect that we saw him very handily take down, what was it, three knife wielding thugs or something in the beginning?
Yeah, like they were nothing.
Yeah, just like a little swish, and they're dead, left behind him. So we know what he's capable of, but we have to believe that he can be brought in here at gunpoint, and he does see there's people watching him from different places. So he kind of gets the idea, okay, well, he does have some parameters. There's only so much he can do. So he does have to go in and be taken in. Let's see. There's some talk here. I do like when Villager's talking to his people there, and I think it's Taub asks, should we go out and search for Quirv? And he says, no, you don't know what he looks like. They have his description, but not his face. Taub winced. No, sir. Villager shifted his glare to the sky above him. Cursed useless cam droids, and the tech still hadn't figured out why they couldn't take decent pictures. Well, we know that's Kel now, so, but we weren't told that until that moment. So it's a nice little reveal of that, fact of what's been going on. Then you have the idea that, development that when they do retrieve the cryodex and they scan it for bombs, there are no bombs. They open the cryodex case and a gas flies out. And I like the way this is revealed too, because we're in Villagor's perspective at this point, but he doesn't know what's going on. So we learn it through him, which is nice. So he's talking, Villagor's in front of Quasati there, and he's talking to his bomb specialist, Dempsey. And so Quirv had one last lethal trick up his sleeve. He and his people would pay dearly for that because there's a gas. What kind of gas? I'll need to take the canister back to my lab to run a proper chemical analysis, Dempsey said, but the label, his tongue swiped across his upper lip. The label identified it as white phylline. I think that's how you pronounce it. Phylline? Phylgene, something like that. A violent hiss exploded from somewhere in Quasati's group, a sound unlike anything Villachor had heard before. He jerked in reaction, twisting around to look. He thought he'd seen Quasati angry before. He'd been wrong. This is what an angry Phylline looked like. Your Excellency, he asked cautiously. So now it's very it's personal, and Villachor finds out later that this gas only kills Phylline.
Mm-hmm.
Not the humans, but only Phylline. So they are stirring the pot big time. Then to add even more to it, remember that Winter created this fake cryodex from the observations that she saw of Azil's cryodex. She knew what they looked like in general, but they were monitoring Azil's people over there at the hotel, so she created it to look like Azil's cryodex. And here we have Quasati thinking, well, this must be Azil's cryodex. So now Quasati thinks either Azil is against him, or Azil and Villachor are against Black Sun. All these kind of possibilities in the mix, and poor Villachor's like, what in the world is going on?
All his worst nightmares are coming true.
I know, tests within tests within tests. Yeah,
I'm failing.
And then they bring in. Is this where they bring in? Let's see. No, I think this is still Villachor thinking. So he looked at Villachor. If Master Villachor is wrong, and this is indeed Azil's cryodex, is Quasati talking, he will attempt to run. By his own actions, he will be condemned. So now you start, the little bit piece of the plan starts to fall into place, because we heard our team talk in the suite about what they wanted to pin Azil down. And they wanted to make it, and they said, well, won't he just call for help for Quasati? And they said, well, it won't matter if we do this, and we don't know what this thing is they're going to do. But now it falls together a bit. So they're going to plant the idea in Quasati's head that Azil is in on this, and if they keep Azil in his hotel room and he's not able to show up when ordered to, well, then it'll look all the more suspicious, and it'll be a perfect frame, quite nicely. Then you've got more of Villajor's suspicions. Maybe they've been working both sides, Azil for his cryodecks, Villajor for their files themselves. Or perhaps there was no treason at all. After all, he had only Quasadi's word, and Querv's cryodex was identical to Azil's. Could this be Quasadi's way of painting Villajor with the suspicion of treason? So again, all these paranoid possibilities. You know?
What if this? What if that?
Villajor needs a drink.
Villajor needs a vacation.
And then Villajor is terrified in that moment, and he's thinking, you know, maybe I should have just gone to the Empire. But once he leaves, he starts to calm down a little bit, and the power and territory rightfully, how could he have ever thought about giving in? Then he realized how he could have thought about it, and he bared his teeth in a vicious snarl. Curse Quasadi and his falling pheromones anyway. So you get the idea that, or you just reveal that Quasadi was messing with him and his pheromones as well. We'll get back to those pheromones in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But next we have this awesome scene, which I think is so cool.
I just like the way it's like, it appears some of the droids are going crazy.
Exactly. So the droids are going nuts because of what Kel did to them. And that's causing the security to be tied up and whatnot. And now we have Bink's little plan here. And, you know, the first time I read this, I kind of kicked myself at this point thinking, oh, yeah, how could I not think they would make use of the fact that they're identical twins? Because Bink and Tavi are identical, you know, so much they established that in the very beginning. Remember that opening scene, they're talking about how they would often try and pretend one was the other, and even Han didn't know it exactly, but suspected and stuff. So they established that from the get-go. And we talked about how Bink has been on Shikoa's arm. Shikoa's Villajor's head of security. She's been on his arm. He suspects her a little bit. She wanted him to. And she smells that dye. There's a tracking dye that he has on his key card that's around his neck. So if you touch it, if you steal it, your hands will have that tracking dye on it. She smells it, so she knows it's there. So their plan is she's got the finger snips underneath her fingernails there. Tavia comes up close, and Chewie knocks them into each other or whatever. They kind of go tumbling. In this fluid action, Bink snips the key card from Shikoa's neck as she grabs him and kind of falls down, and then her and Tavia, in their fumbling, they end up wearing those kind of pull-away dresses or reversible dresses that Zerba had. They squeeze that little egg and it kind of changes. So by the end of it, they've completely switched places. It was so cool how it's done.
The red silk dress was ripped instantly away into the egg, leaving her dress the duplicate of Tavia's brown dress. Exactly. And Tavia's brown dress similarly vanished to reveal a copy of Bink's red one.
Exactly. And Tavia, of course, had a hat on, so you couldn't see her identical, twin coming, approaching. So it's perfect. It's just a really cool. I admired how that was pulled off and how it was written as well, because it's a lot of action there, but he's not too clunky with it. He writes it pretty quickly, and you kind of get the sense of the swiftness with which this little switch takes place, which is nice. All right, so Deja, when he had been brought into Quasadi slapped him at one point. And Deja is playing innocent. He's still playing in I'm just a glitter stem peddler. I've just got a sample and so forth, until he kind of gets some more information here. And the information that he gets is pretty heavy. He learns about cryodexes, and he learns about all these things from what they're saying. But I like when we jump to Deja here again, it says Deja had never been hit by a Falim before. And if Quasadi's slap was representative sample of their work, he was pretty sure he never wanted to be hit by one again. We know how dangerous Deja is, and we know what he's capable of, and it's a lot. But for him to recognize the power of Quasadi, that sets them up, is kind of at least a comparison of the two. And what I like about this is that, well, let's keep going. So Deja is being taken away to his own little cell, and they put him in a turbo lift. And he says holodrama writers, Deja had noticed over the years, had a strange fascination with turbo lifts. They especially like casting such places the perfect spot for a captured hero or heroine to burst into action against evil captors, using hands or feet or concealed weapons to render their opponents dead or unconscious, usually before they even reach their designated floor. Maybe it was the drama of the close quarters that the producers liked, or maybe it was simply that turbo lift fights required no set dressing and left minimal damage to clean up afterwards. Then he goes on to say, of course, they're horrible places, though, because you don't have any kind of makeshift props around your close quarters, which means you can barely kind of move your feet and legs and stuff like that. So he talks about how it's horrible. And yeah, when you read this the first time, even the second time, I'm thinking, why is Zahn doing this? Because he's putting us in the mind of Deja. Deja is a very different villain than Quixote. Deja's the Apollonian. Deja's the one who's going to think about all of the clues, all of the elements, and he's going to put a plan in advance. Where Quixote deals in pheromones. Quixote deals in a visceral, emotional response. Quixote's the more Dionysian of the two. And I do like it. So he's taking him down. We realize, oh, okay, well, I guess he's not going to escape here and so forth. We're taking you to your own personal hell. One of the guards answered, giving him a shove out of the car. Move. Turbo lift cars were rotten places to pick a fight. Turbo lift car doorways, on the other hand, were ideal. The nearest, and I love how we don't even see the fight, because that's not what Deja's about. Deja's just about taking care of business, so we don't even see it happen. It's the same way he took down the 3 thugs with the knives in the beginning of the book. The nearest open door led into a sleeping room that was even more nicely furnished than the hallway. The walk-in closet had a lock, but there was enough room on the far side of the massive bed for both of the bodies. Wait a minute. When did this happen? When did they become bodies? Deja paused long enough to relieve the late guards of his appropriate comlink and holocam, then headed back to the turbo lift. I mean, normally you would say, no, you got to show that. But with a character like Deja, it's far more chilling just to wait a minute, somewhere between the 2 last sentences, this guy just killed 2 people. It's
kind of like John Wick.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, somebody's like an incredibly skilled assassin like that, crazy dangerous. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so now we have Shikoa being brought up. Shikoa goes to Villachor because he suspects that these droids are as part of a plan. Somebody's trying to distract and stretch the security team too thin. And Villachor doesn't think much of it at first. So they're having this sort of argument about one thing. But I like how this other complication busts in. So Villachor interrupts Shikoa to tell him about his keypad, key card. I love it. So it's the droid, sir, Shikoa said as he came up to them, serving maintenance in both. Yes, I can hear them, Villachor snarled as another crash and startled scream came from somewhere to the northwest. I've already called Purvis. If there's programming glitch, he'll fix it. I don't think it's a glitch, Shikoa insisted. I think it's a deliberate diversion. My men are already stretched thin, and this is distracting them even more. Shikoa! Villager snapped, feeling a surge of horror and fury. The man's neck. Your key pendant. So I like the fact that you feel caught off guard just as much as they do. So yeah, go ahead.
Just so you didn't announce we had started chapter 19.
Sorry, yeah, we're in chapter 19.
Yeah. Just letting people know, just to be sure.
Thank you. And you stopped me too, because usually at the end of each chapter, I ask if you had anything you wanted to add. So feel free to interrupt me and jump in if you wanted to fill something in. I'll take that as a no.
No, we're good. We're good. Yeah.
We're trucking right along too, because it's only 3 chapters, so we're nearly done almost. But we got a shorter amount tonight.
Getting into some interesting stuff, though.
Interesting stuff, absolutely. So now, of course, the first thing Shikoa does is he suspects Bink. He thought it was Bink. I forget what name she was using for him, but it's actually Tavia. So he pulls out his little scanner for the tracking die and scans both of her hands, her left hand as well, the backs of her hands. He looks under the fingernails for possible finger snips. There's nothing there to show that she did it. She's claiming, ignorance and or claiming innocence. And but Shikoa just insists, no, she had to have done it. She's the only one that was close enough to him, so he would know, but there's no evidence. And now the chilling thing, though, is that Quixote asks to be the one. He says, take her in and I will question her. And Villachor says, with all due respect, Your Excellency, you have other prisoners to interrogate, he said as civilly as he could, prisoners who we know are involved. She's involved too, Shikoa insisted. The others will keep, Master Villachor, Quixote said, but this one's a female. We Falline have a certain way with females. So that's chilling enough right there. And then later, Lando says, I hope she goes with Quixote. And Winter says, you hope so? Lando, do you have any idea what Falline do to women? So that's incredibly terrifying. Not telling us what, or what extent, or if it's the pheromones, and kind of what goes on here. But you get the sense that poor Tavia, is in incredible danger. And of course, Lando's saying if she goes with him, then we know she's with Han, and we can save them both at the same time. So that's where he's going with that. But then we jump to Kel and Zerba, who were supposed to meet up with Bink, as they do. Bink has got the key card now, and she's taken off from Shikoa after that little switcheroo. And they meet them. They get inside with the key card. She's changing into a different outfit and so forth. They go into the security room. She walks them through doing some security stuff with the droids and whatnot. And then it's a job they need to cut through the wall to continue their entry into this fortress. And see, Zerba, that keypad there, enter 8 or 9 numbers, right? Blah, blah, blah. Same thing, she told him, pointing to one of the keypads. Zerba, toss me the lightsaber, will you? I'll do it, Zerba said. He keyed in one final number, then walked over to them, pulling out his lightsaber from his belt. Sorry, but it's temperamental enough as it is. What do you need? She tells him to cut this small thing right here. Got it. He ignited the lightsaber, which gave a gurgly sort of hissing that didn't sound a thing like the ones in the old holodramas. The blade didn't look like anything she'd ever seen either. A sort of sickly yellow that was no more than 14 or 15 centimeters long. I know, Zerba growled as he positioned it carefully at the spot Pink had indicated. He probably found himself apologizing for the weapon a lot. I love that this is our character who was our performer with the very sensitive ego to begin with, you know? And he's got this...
Now, what's in metric? What's that, about like 7 inches?
You're asking me to do math, man.
I'm not sure.
Google
it's like a centimeter, like... Where is it, like 2.5 centimeters equal an inch-ish, somewhere, 2 centimeters?
No more than 14 or 15 centimeters long. Somebody Google it and let us know.
Yeah,
what is that?
It's short. I know that.
Yeah, I just like I know, Zerba growled.
It's a light chef knife, basically. Yeah. A lightsaber.
Yeah, but still able to cut what a lightsaber can cut, just not quite as in depth and whatnot. So they get through. Now, eventually, they meet up with Han, which is interesting. That makes sense because Han himself escaped, and he'd been pretty cunning about it too, deciding that he discovered, or he thought, okay, what's the one room according to their plan that wouldn't be manned? And it was the break room for the security. So he goes there, and then he finds the snacks there, and he kind of arranges them on a tray so he can look like at least he's supposed to be there, at least to pretend to be there with somebody serving or bringing snacks or something like that. But he meets up with them. Now, I love this part. This is another little aspect of the when you bring elements out later. So these are things that he could have told us about all the gear they had to begin with, but it's much more fun as a reader to discover these things going along, especially in a character's perspective who doesn't necessarily know about these things either. So Han, after they cut a hole in the ceiling, or they're hiding in the ceiling area, Bink gives Han this little ring, and she says, pull this bottom part of the ring or whatever. Lowering his hand, Han did as he instructed and jerked in surprise as the material unfolded outward in all directions, each edge expanding until it ran into the wall on that side. Chameleon cloth, Bink explained. Instant wall or ceiling in a handy carry size. Won't they notice the ceiling's lower than it's supposed to be? Kel asked. People never know how high ceilings are supposed to be, Bink said with a shrug. You two get a grip on the edges and stabilize it. Great, and then it proves that it works. Some people walk in the room next and they're able to be hidden behind it quite nicely. So just those little in a spy movie like James Bond, there's one thing to be said for James Bond going into, I forget what that doctor or inventor is that always gives him his gear at first, and walking you through all these things and what they do and how you can use them. And then we see how Bond uses them. We saw that with the Black Panther movie too, when his sister walked him through all the gear that he was going to get and use. And then you see it used out in the field. That's one thing, because it usually has to be used on the fly or in some sort of different way or whatever. But here we have a new thing where you have a team and each of their little expertises show up in different ways. So this is one of Zerba's little tricks again, which is nice to see. Casey Scott said it's about 6 inches, Al.
Oh, okay.
So Bink gave it a full 20 count before she spoke again. Then we'll almost be ready to go. They're ready to go in Rochelle. Oh, yeah. Now they mention Lando, too. The go-ahead for what, Han asked. After you were grad, we decided we couldn't afford to let Villachor figure out the droid thing by himself, Zerba explained. So we don't know what that means. What does that mean? Figure out the droid thing by himself. Do they want him to figure it out, or do they not want it, or what's going on? So Lando's going to help. Lando? Yep, Zerba said. Too bad we'll miss his performance. It should be a crowning point of his career. Really? Han asked, frowning. What's he going in as? The last thing you'd expect, Zerba said, and Han could visualize him smiling in the darkness. He's going as someone respectable. I love that little joke there. And a good little way to end the chapter. giving us a linchpin for the next one. So I like that. That is the end of chapter 19 in the last of our chapters tonight. So I know that again we're about 15 minutes early than we usually do because we usually do 4 chapters. But that's what we're doing with the rest of this book, just to kind of cover it at a good pace. For next week, we're doing 3 chapters as well. So 20, 21, and 22. Then that leaves us for the following week, just the last 2 chapters. But one of them is pretty lengthy. So we will we'll have time to do that and then kind of close up and everything. So just 3 chapters for next week. But did you anything more about these chapters you wanted to mention, Al, or anything you wanted to say?
No, I'm very worried about Tavia.
Yes.
Because it was very cryptic about what a falling does to a female. Like,
exactly.
What does and I know that there's something that leads back to what Shizor, and that in the original book, was it Shadows of the Empire?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
something like that. But I never read it. I don't know the story, but I know there's something very dicey about his race. So
yeah, the Fallings, yeah. So yeah, and you're supposed to be concerned about that, and of course we know that Bink hasn't found out about that part yet, and of course Bink's being her sister, very protective of her. Winter having some sort of bond with them, as well. So what's going to happen, and stuff. So
I'm still. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm still waiting to see if Han mentions the fact that he helped some princess not too long ago.
Well, we'll have to wait.
You're not going to tell me.
You will have to wait like any other reader.
Damn it.
But it is something to worry about, Tavia, obviously. Then we have, so I guess the big takeaway from these chapters is thinking on the fly, how you do need complications after complications for a heist story. You need their basic plan, and you can't let their basic plan go completely awry, because then that shows incompetence, and you want to think that your heroes are competent. But you do have to show them overcoming complications, and they planned for complications in one stage with the Festival of Moving Water, but now they're thinking on their feet in the middle of the heist on the Festival of Moving Fire here, which is quite cool to see as well. So letting those things be revealed as you go along, it's a lot more fun for the reader when it's a heist story like this, as opposed to, say, a spy espionage tale where you just have one hero. Netter said Q. Q's the name of that, the inventor that helps 007. Yeah, thank you.
Back to the drawing board, says Professor Geek overlooked a moment of greatness, Cal cutting cables. What does it do? Absolutely nothing, but they won't know that.
Exactly, yeah. They think that all these things are been sabotaged, and it doesn't matter. Actual sabotaging doesn't matter. The fact is that they want to make them think all this damage is done, so they take the time to try and figure out, Definitely. So yeah, that's the book study for tonight. I know it's a little shorter than usual, but just going those shorter chapters. Again, next week we'll just do 3 chapters as well. Chapters 20, 21, 22. And then the week after that, we'll do the final 2 chapters. So almost to the end of it. It's been a good ride.
Yeah, my hardcover is a bit deceptive because they have that other story.
Yeah, advertisements for that was actually the last
Winner Takes All or something like that, or
yeah. There's also mine has a clip of Into the Void, which was chronologically one of the first story within the EU, but one of the last ones. And then Crucible was the last story continuing in terms of after Luke and Leia's children and so forth and whatnot. But yeah, they have a couple of previews there at the end. Tinker Bear, thank you, sir, for $5 super chat. I need your Jedi wisdom again. I have 28 pages of my Star Wars movie script on. Oh, yeah. I remember Tinker Bear. Yeah, thanks. You know what? You sent me an email the other day, too. I think I saw it bleary-eyed in the morning when I was waking up. Yes, I will. I'll get back to you about that. Yeah, I'm happy to work with you again. Sounds like a plan.
So bleary-eyed in the morning, that means what, 1, 2 in the afternoon?
I've been getting up a little bit earlier. I even caught the end of Fan Man's Second Cup Cafe this morning.
Oh, I totally missed it because that's when you came home.
Yeah, you were busy. But I've been getting up a little bit earlier and earlier because I am going to be teaching again this fall, and I think my first class is at like 9:30 or something. So we're slowly working that working that schedule around a little bit. Naps are the key. So, but yeah, anything else you wanted to talk about, Al, or say before we cover what's coming up?
I really like the Redskins in the uniform and stuff.
Are you bringing sports talk onto my channel?
I know. I just was having fun. Sorry, the Washington football team. There's no more Redskins. The Washington football team.
All right. So tomorrow is Sandman doing something tomorrow?
I don't know.
His soundboard still doesn't work, so he might not want to. I don't know what he's doing there.
I don't know. I actually haven't. I should bounce him a note tonight. I don't really know what he's doing tomorrow. He had mentioned possibilities of some more animated DC stuff, but I don't know.
Yeah. And of course, Saturday, Call the Conqueror on Al's channel.
For God's sake, man. But it's not. It is the 1983 fantasy sci-fi classic Crawl.
I love the genuine disgust and anger that was in his voice. Did you guys hear that? Wow. Do not Crawl to me. Listen to him.
Where the good guys must fight the beast to rescue the beautiful princess.
So Krull is a rewatch on Al's channel Saturday night. One of their Saturday night rewatches. Troy and Annette.
Yes, I heard you mentioning like your style and just completely left out my style, which is just some whatever cool flick I feel like watching.
Yeah, well, you don't really have a theme. Yeah, you just go with kind of whatever you feel like.
Not a theme per se, but there is. I either like go sci-fi or some really cool like nostalgia kick.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wanted. I was thinking, like I said, we're doing Bill 10. Did I got the Goonies plugged in?
I don't know.
Yeah, chance of the Goonies coming in. Never say die. Goonies never say die.
Goonies never say die. That's right. Goonies are great. That's a good one. Absolutely. Yep. So yeah, that's a possibility too. So lots of good things coming up there. So Saturday night, Sunday night is a Weeb Watch from Mr. Matchstick.
A Weeb Watch, a Weeb Watch, a Weeb Watch, a Weeb Watch. Ooh, woo, 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 Mr. Matchstick's watching anime.
Go ahead and let him get that in since we're running early. Yeah, so we watch Goblin Slayer, I believe, is Sunday night on Mr. Matchstick's channel. Troy's dropping links like that in the chat. Much appreciated.
See, Agent Boomers, and I mean, no, not Agent Boomer. Wolf 10 Media is doing some test. Was doing a test stream.
Oh, cool! Yeah. Wolf 10 Media has been joining Matchstick a couple times. I don't know if Wolf 10 Media and Agent Boomer or who's all going to be over there, but Matchstick is gathering a panel. So
was Agent who? I mean, Wolf 10 Media was. I think he was with Lister, doing something.
Yeah, I believe. I think so. So. Yep. So it's good stuff there. But then Monday night, of course, Sound Engraver. Her coffee break, probably around 9ish this time, I think she said, because she doesn't have to commute. So that's probably going to be a lighter question and answer, she said, Q&A, like it was last time. But that was a lot of fun. So definitely show up for that. Mm-hmm. Good times. And then Tuesday on the Tuesday Night Noirs becomes Tuesday Night Classics because we're moving from noir just for a little bit over to screwball comedies, and we are going to be watching the classic Howard Hawks screwball comedy Bringing Up Babies, starring Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant. Awesome film. Definitely cool.
Cute. What's it? A leopard?
A leopard plays a role. Yeah, there is a leopard in the movie too. Definitely. So it's good stuff. It's a hilarious film. I love it. I like screwball comedies because they're, and again, a lot of people think I mean slapstick when I say screwball. Nope, screwball is a very specific thing. It's a romantic comedy, so there's that aspect to it. Very witty dialogue, incredibly witty dialogue. You've got certain tropes like the woman character is usually a little bit zany. She usually has some sort of machination she's trying to trap the male character with or whatever, and it comes off as pretty cool. So
slapstick's usually more physical comedy.
Yeah.
Whereas screwball comedy is more wit.
Yeah, wit. So definitely. All right. So that takes us up. And then, of course, we said Thursday night, we'll be doing the 3 chapters again. So 20, 21, and 22 next Thursday. All right, we're covered then. Last thoughts, Al?
No, gonna miss it. Any idea on the next book you said we're gonna do?
Dune, I think, is next up.
We're gonna do Dune?
Yeah, I mean, if that was what people seem to want, I mean, we can always do a final vote, but that's kind of what I had on deck. If it seems that no one really wants to do that, we can do something else. But
I'm gonna have to get another copy because mine's boxed up. Like some weird guy came in and boxed up all my books.
You told me to.
Well, not all of them, but definitely that one.
I'm sure I'll be there before we start Dune at some point, so I can get it out of the box for you. Sounds like a plan. So yeah, that's going on. Dune is going to be fun. All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out with us tonight. It was a lot of fun. I'll cut that pre-show off and make it its own little archetype video later, probably tomorrow, something like that. But until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.
Oh.